Hey, wonderful people, you're welcome to the best evening talk show in the capital. Listen, we let them argue with their phones. We were doing this here. My name is Miriam Udwak Mensa. First of all, I'm super excited about tonight's show because listen, we're about to have real conversations. We're coming to you live from the MX24 studios, Oleander Streets, East Legon, Accra, Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. Now, we're on the dish. We bring you thought-provoking discussions, empowering perspectives on women's issues, and a focus on global development. Come along as we continue to elevate women's voices, disrupt outdated norms, and drive real change with progressive women. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. In fact, for my ladies, this is your time to shine. We're learning and growing together. This area has been one of those areas that a lot of people have complained whether or not women really deserve a seat on this table. But we're going to see it. We're going to look into that conversation today. We want to say a big thank you to Decozone for this beautiful set. They always make my set look this amazing. And I'm telling you that if you want that house to be a home, run into, in fact, somersault into Decozone and come back and thank me later because their prices are absolutely amazing. I want to say big thank you to Epiglow. Epiglow is saying that, listen, that skin is suffering from this very harsh weather conditions that we deal with in Africa. And so grab yourself an Epiglow skin and facial cream and thank me later. I want to say also big thank you to Gino Telecel, Cowbell Coffee, and Betway for holding us down. The hashtag is the dish on MX on all social media platforms. So connect with us. Let's get talking. Today, our topic is quite simple, but very, very intense because I started discussing with my guests some of the things that we're going to be touching on the show. And I was like, how'd you guys do it? Coupled with every other thing society is throwing at you. Well, we're celebrating women in politics because they deserve to be celebrated. We're looking at the achievements and challenges they're faced with every single day. What we see apparently on social media is just tip of the iceberg, okay? But someone told me it's not correct English, but I'm saying it. Listen, you have to deal with it today. It's just a Bibi kitty can on chair or social media. The real battle is with what they do, and we're going to get into that. Celebrating women in politics is not just about acknowledging their achievements, but also recognizing the ongoing struggle for equality that continues to shape their journeys. Over the years, women have made remarkable strides in the political sphere, breaking barriers and challenging the status quo in ways that have reshaped nations and societies, from pioneering leaders who have held highest offices to those who have fought tirelessly for grassroots change. Women in politics have shown resilience, innovation, and determination. However, despite these successes, they still face significant hurdles, including gender bias, unequal representation, and societal expectations that often limit their full participation in the political process. This conversation invites us to explore both the triumph and the challenges women encounter in politics today and reflect on what has been achieved, but also what needs to change in order to create a political environment that truly is inclusive and empowering for everyone, regardless of the gender. Because me like this, that I'm sitting here like this, I want to get into politics one day. If the environment is not conducive, how would I be empowered to want to get into that space? Or would I be encouraged at all to get into that space? So we're going to be getting into that conversation pretty soon. Well, joining me for the conversation this evening is Gabriela Tete. I'm sure you've heard of her. You're very excited to have them. Me too. Me too. She's a Central Region Communications Officer. And also, Honorable Joycelyn Tete. So I have two Tetes on the show. I think in my family, I'm saying Tete 4, baby. So today I'm Mimi Tete. She's a member of Parliament for North Dai constituency. Is it Dai or Dai? Dai. Yeah. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
Out of your very, very busy schedules, you have shown up here. Thank you so much. I mean, for both of you, did you always want to do politics growing up? Did you always want to do politics? I'm going to start with you.
Let me say good evening first of all to our viewers. Good evening to you.
Thank you.
And I'm very happy to be on the same platform with Joycelyn. She's somebody I admire very much.
Oh, is it?
From the time that she
that.
entered Parliament as a very young lady, I used to watch her a lot. She doesn't know that. But I used to observe her, and I'm very proud about her growth.
Oh, wow.
and how far she's come.
I love this.
And I know that the future is very bright for her.
Amen.
And I said that she's also very pretty. So, pretty things are nice to look at. Yeah. I'm a girl, by the way. So,
what do you identify as?
Girl.
A girl.
Girl. I was reading, who was it? Somebody, one black guy, who's a movie actor, says that he no longer identifies as a black. And I was like, did he look in the mirror?
He's so black.
He's so black.
Someone also told me that now you have to ask, have you always been a woman or have you always been a man?
Oh,
because right now,
identifying us.
Yes, you have to be sure if the person knows that.
But we are females, identifying as females, celebrating International Women's Day.
Yes, that's what we are.
No two ways about that.
Right.
Did I always want to enter into politics? That, for me, doesn't have a straightforward answer.
Wow.
Because I come from a background where my father, and I always have to go back to my father, where my father was an activist during the Nkrumah's days.
Wow.
And it was through his activism that he got the opportunity to get a scholarship to go and study outside of Ghana as a medical doctor. And even then, he was one of the pioneers in the Ghana National College. He was their head boy.
Wow.
And so for him, his journey with Kwame Nkrumah was like a cat and a kitten.
Wow.
Nkrumah was his everything, his idol, his everything. And so for him, the kind of passion that they built into them for country and the love and patriotism is something that was always with him even to the end of his life. And that thing trickled down into our upbringing and how we were raised.
Yes.
Because we saw him, he was a medical doctor, but we saw him every day after work going to the regional coordinating council to have meetings with the regional minister to discuss development in Central Region. And he wasn't somebody whose focus was always about me, my wife, my children, my external family, and that was it. He was always somebody who was very engaging about Ghana. And so all of us along the line picked up in those conversations. Yeah. And so from the 80s and the time of the PNDC through to the NDC, when he passed on, so when Hannah continued as a member of parliament, because in actual fact, for the MPship that Hannah assumed, the constituency wanted him. And he refused and put Hannah forward.
Hannah. So is Madam Hannah Tete your big sister? Older sister?
Yes.
Firstborn?
Yes.
Oh.
People think she's my mother. I don't know why.
Because why get big sister near to the point that she's assumed the position of deputy mother. Oh, beautiful.
People always think I'm the daughter. No, I'm too old. So, and after Hannah's tenure, when the constituency was looking for another person to go for MP, they came back to the same family.
Wow.
That will one of you consider? And Gisela was next in line. So my head was nowhere near those conversations. You can't have those conversations with me. So very shout out to those ones who attempt to go on that journey. Me, I'm not there.
You're not there.
So then she followed. But when you come from a background like that, where there's always some level of activism and some politics and something happening, you can't run away from the fact that you are in it. So it's not like I had a choice where I heard people having conversations about NDC and NPP, and I chose to go with NDC because I believe in ideology. I was indoctrinated from Kwame Nkrumah's ideologies by a father, right? And so between both ideologies, I'm aligned to the NDC more, and because of when the lineage has passed. And so for someone like me, whenever I have to have this conversation about myself into politics, I always have to give credence to a past history, a legacy that has survived almost close to 50 years to serve a country. And I can't take myself out singularly because I don't know what the next generation of Tetes will also be and what their contribution will be to the country, because whether they like it or not, they are living it, right? Their mothers and their aunties are all engaging some level of politics, and it's definitely going to wash off them.
I'm looking forward to that generation. What they will be doing.
So, and sometimes you hear people have conversations. It's like, more crowd day. politics, it's not like everybody, the fact of the matter is that everybody contributes their quota to what is NDC and the success of NDC, whether in government or in opposition. Because it is what it is. And unless maybe the party or some occurrence or some event or something give you cause to stop and question, why am I doing this? Then it is what it is.
It is what it is. How about you, Joycelyn?
Well, I didn't grow up in a politically inclined family.
Why?
I started actively in UCC. I became the women commissioner back then, and then that was how it started. Yeah. So after school, I just said, okay, let me give it a try. And then my first attempt, I had it.
Oh, wow. Your first attempt to represent your people, you had it.
I was 28 or 27 years then.
But what was it that you communicated so well that the people believed in your...
Water region is water region. You just have to win primaries.
No, that is not it.
No, you just have to win primaries.
You just have to win primaries for the main election, but the primaries is the main thing. Like, our primaries, like an election in itself. You have a lot of people coming on board because we believe that the moment you win the primaries, the main election becomes
yours.
And then what did I tell the people? I think I communicated their need, the reason why they need to be represented by a female, a woman. They've had that experience before. They've compared it with the men, and they realized that it was
it's way better to be represented by.
Exactly. And then they gave me the chance, and I'm not disappointed. Pardon?
It's always way better.
They just don't know.
Yes.
On this level, we are always very encouraged to go that tangent as women. When we have seen young people like you know, be celebrated for all the successes that you garner through being in that space, we are like, yeah, I want to do this. But then there are real challenges that we're going to be touching on. And I'm trying to mentally prepare my people for the big conversations that could make them even cry here. So let's get into it. So how have women in politics changed the way we view leadership? Because, you know, let's talk about the facts on the ground or some of the realities we've been hit by in recent times. Women in politics, we've been pushing for affirmative action. We've included the women to let the women be in politics too. But then we've had some of the nuances that occur with women in politics. We've seen women in parliament, and we as women are even disgusted by the actions that, you know, they're showing in parliament. So all of these things. Have you ever gotten to a place where you're like, you know, man, this is not what we're looking for. I will make sure this woman leaves parliament because this is not the image that we're trying to paint for the women in politics. How have these representations, these negative representations, affected your positions as women in politics? You want to take that? Yes, let me start with you, Gabriela.
That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever come to that point where somebody's actions has made me conclude on them that I don't think this woman is fit to be here or to be there. Because I think that, first of all, to accept the call to enter into this realm, I think it's a calling. Because there has to be something that keeps you sucked in. It is not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
It is not for the merrymakers. You know, as you mentioned in your intro, probably some people may even cry at the idea of they getting into politics, because sometimes it is just grit and resilience that has to keep you. And I'll use myself as an example. You know, before the election, there was this incident that happened when I commented on some guy's Facebook wall because he had made a post and the facts of what he was putting out was a bit distorted, you know, and I just asked that it should be pulled down and they get the facts right and then they do it again. But for 5 days, I was verbally abused online, right? And I was sitting back and I was watching the whole thing play out for 5 days. And I was like, you see, I could hear the words, I could see the actions, But the good thing was that it wasn't penetrating.
Wow.
You see? So there was like this, it was like I was in a vortex with a film around me that had kept me enclosed. And that is built by resilience. Because if someone decides that they are coming to hammer you down and speak all kinds of disparaging and things because they think that they want to end you or destroy you or whatever they want to do to you, it depends on you. If you are weak, it will get you. And if you are strong, it will meet you. And whether it sustains or it falls, it depends on how long we are going to keep the energy levels up, right? So I was watching this whole thing, and I was just questioning a lot of things in my mind. And in my intro, I always have to go back and talk about a legacy. Because if I was to do politics based on me as Gabriella, there have been a lot of times where I've come to that point where I'm like, I am spending on this. I am giving my personality to this. I'm giving myself to this. For what? For what? But my what, let's put equation X there.
Find X.
Find X. My what, I came to realize that it was what actually kept me focused in what I do. And it has nothing to do with the politics. It has everything to do with what, to me, is my contribution to society and to Ghana, and my contribution to a legacy. And how I think that Ghana should go. So you may not agree with me on some of my positions, but in my mind, in my imagination, in my heart, this is where we should go. You are free to choose which direction you want us to go. She's free to choose which direction she wants us to go. That's how the democracy, right? So we'll end up putting our energies and our thoughts and our ideas together. We frame properly and we go, this is the way to go. And then we make progress. But sometimes when you come against certain tough situations that make you question your why, if your why, your X, is not a capital bold X, and your X is an italized, stylized X, then when the storms come, it's going to knock your italics all over the place. You get it?
Wow.
So for me, to answer your question, that really is it. It is what it is for me.
Right.
You must have something that keeps you
in there.
in there. And that must always be your focus. Constantly. I started my career not in politics. My political career started, I started voting in the year 2000, because that's when I turned 18 in 1998.
You're going to let my viewers start calculating your age.
Oh, but I look good for my age, so right now I don't mind.
Yes.
Yes, thank God for less stressful living.
And thank God for good genes.
And singlehood. The key word is singlehood.
Okay, but we're going to touch on that too. Let me write that down.
Hey.
Let me write it down.
So, some people think that when you are single, it's a curse. When you are single, it's a blessing.
It's a blessing. You just have to exploit as much as you can.
You get up, you go where you go, you come where you come. You only account to yourself.
Nobody's holding you to anything. We don't have curfew.
You know? So, your ex always has to keep you in there. And a lot of the time, we find people who, for various reasons, are unable to keep themselves grounded and in there. And if you don't have it, you have to start building it.
Right.
And you find it. When I started my career, as I was saying, I voted in 1998. Sorry, 1998, when I first turned 18. No, in 2000.
In 2000?
Yes, I was on UC campus when Kufuor first came to when Kufuor came to campaign for our votes in level 100. I was 19 then. So I voted in 2000. I voted for Atamils, by the way. I was not going to vote anywhere else.
Anywhere else?
Let me tell you one thing. The only one time I voted for another party, it was for a parliamentary candidate because the person was contesting the contest was one from my family. So when I came back, I told my sister, I voted for, I don't know who I voted for, but I voted for the one with the broom. Hey, come and see. You wasted the vote. I said, how did I waste the vote? It was a woman. She said, no. So you voted president? I said, yes, at Amos. And you wasted the parliamentary vote. You didn't see NDC? I said, I saw NDC, but it was a woman. I said, no. You shouldn't have voted for the woman and the broom. You should have voted for NDC. That was my first lesson in voting in 2000.
You don't vote skirt and blouse.
You don't vote skirt and blouse. You told the line. Even though you were standing in the box alone, somebody was watching. So in 2000, and from the time I completed school, I went into a career in shipping.
Okay.
And then I moved into public service in maritime. Yeah. So my public service career ended in 2011, thereabouts. So I'd had about over 10 years experience in that area before I moved into politics. So I came into politics with some public service training.
Training, yes.
Okay, in maritime and administration. And I learned that in politics, whatever your contribution is, it must have, to make it easy for you, it must have some bearing on something that you know how to do, to make it easy for you. So if your career is in nursing, the easiest thing for you to follow is health, right? And then you can add a gender if you're a female.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I always tell young people in particular who are interested in getting into this area, in this arena, that you must first focus on you, build your who, build your why, and your X, but come with something to the table.
Don't just come because you're female.
And because you think you look good.
Wow. Okay. Before you drag us to the end of the show, let's talk about some of the barriers you face as women. I'm going to start with you. And I'm going to touch on a few sensitive spots. If you think it's too sensitive, you have to throw your shoe across here so I will know you're allowed to. Okay. You're married, but you got into politics single.
Yes.
Some of the barriers you face as a single woman and as a married woman. I know we touched on a few things, but let's get into it full scope. Some of the things you still face as a woman. So you're talking about your single life, you're talking about when you're married, and talking about the gender issues that you have to face just because you're a woman being in politics. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so I entered into politics. I'm married.
Yes.
And I have tasted both sides.
Yes.
Single and married.
Yes.
Single, you have more support when you're single. Yes, because those you go to assume you don't have any allegiance towards anybody.
Yes.
So they are quicker to support you. Probably for reasons known to them. Married, it's difficult getting support. You have financial constraints. It's like you go out there and they feel like, hey, you owe allegiance to somebody. Why do you come to me for support? And, we have this societal thing that, hey, she's married. We've seen her in this office. We've seen her here and there. So the marriage holds you down. It's like you're even scared to go out there to look for support because you're afraid, hey, how they feel, how when people see me going out here chasing people for support. I have had a lot of attacks while single. It's like, oh, Jocelyn has gone here for support. What's she doing? How come this person is supporting her and all that? I don't really have any ulterior motive. Like, I'm just going in for support to support my people back home. Like my sister said, if you don't have any passion, any reason why you are in this space, you end up doing like anything. So I want to serve. I want to see people happy. So when I go back to my constituency, and people are like, oh, Honorable, my child has just finished training college. Is it possible you can speak to the minister to post her to have something doing? I feel like that shouldn't be a problem. Let me just speak to the minister, or let me just do this for the person. So I want to serve. I want to see my people happy. That is what I have been doing all these years. And then you are married, and then you go to the offices, and they are like,
But let me be a bit a bit of a naughty girl this evening. These people that you used to get support from, did they somehow show any form of interest in you to the point that they feel like they said they'll be able to support? Some
make those advances towards us.
And you did, they didn't get, but they were okay because there's hope.
Okay because there's no one attached to you.
One day it might happen.
Exactly. No, you need to know how to play to your advantage. Because men naturally like to chase.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? So it doesn't mean that you give in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you must make sure that you are ahead of the race.
Because if you will come back here when you have left, then there's a problem.
There is. So it's a very difficult task.
Wow.
And then me entering into parliament, I entered at a very young age. It got to a point I nearly gave up.
Wow.
Yes. I didn't enter with the tough skin that maybe others.
You just
may
went
have.
there to want to help your people.
Yes, I thought it was going to be, okay, we are all on the same, we are all like, so everybody understands that, we are all here to support, or we are all here to help. It got to a point, I went to one member of parliament, I'm like, is that how it's going to be all these years, or
it will change at some point?
I was on I was crying. It got to a point I felt like I was in the wrong space. Because I gave my all, I always give my all, and you go back to the constituency, you go to the social media, and the discrimination, the violence, the insult, the attacks. I just felt like I was doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be here. So it took time. The resilience she spoke about, it took time for me to say that, look, this is what I want to do. This is where I am, and I just have to survive. If you just want to live within your means and feel like, I'm a member of parliament and not develop the tough skin, I'm sure you won't even do 4 years.
How about your husband's opinion on because again, he's home with you, seeing all this pain.
Yeah.
What did he say when he saw you go through these?
Well, fortunately, I have a man that understands politics so well.
Wow.
There are times that I complain about something like, damn the consequences, do it this way, let's do it this way. Like, he has been my source of hope and everything. Wow. Yeah, so he understands, fortunately, he understands the work. There are times he goes to parliament with me, there are times he'll be like, okay, the statement you gave, you should have done it this way. Like, kind of, if you have a partner who understands it, then
good for you.
Good for you. But if you have somebody who is looking up there and thinking that, she's in parliament, I'm at home. What if she's going to see this man? What if she's speaking to this person? That's when you have problems.
And even worse, when they see you go through the struggles and you have to come and depend on them for strength.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah,
you will. Because
that's a very important point.
Yeah.
And before we went on there, we're having the same conversation. The quality of partner you have is very important.
It's very important
for you to survive as a female
politician.
Because if you don't have a supportive partner,
you'll be done before you even shine.
And the worst is if you find yourself a gold digger who is just using you to get to don't touch me.
Tell me about it. Tell me. That's what you should say. So look at me and tell me.
And if the person thinks that you are like a social climber, and that person thinks that they are going to use you to get to people at the top, and you are resistant, they will frustrate you.
Wow.
They will give you mental health.
Wow.
Until you either break or you work out. Your choice.
So I think
you are fighting the battle here.
Yes.
You are fighting the battle here.
We should do something with. We can plan it and do something with like female politicians. It shouldn't just be 2 or 3 people on it.
Yeah, we will.
And then people sharing their stories.
Yeah, we will.
I've had friends, members of parliament, that their partners are like, so it's not like it's looking out there. You guys don't even have any money. Like, he's in because of what you have.
So they think we have money.
Exactly. So they don't really see the struggle. Like my sister said, let's use them and get to where we want to, the connections and all that. I've had a female politician, she's not even a member of parliament, who said, I had this boyfriend whom I introduced to 1 or 2. By the time she realized, the guy passed behind her to establish himself. So the man just used
Clearly, like, it wasn't about
no,
that.
No. So if you don't get a supportive partner, sorry, you'll be used and dumped.
Abused and dumped.
Your life, your romantic life will be. Now you have to be extra careful. If you become a politician, you have to be extra careful as to who comes into. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, because I know some gentlemen like to watch The Dish to learn about women. These are some of the challenges. We're going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, The conversation continues right here on The Dish. We'll be right back. The conversation has been very educative, very eye-opening, and I am enjoying myself. Again, for every individual or for every lady who is interested in politics, these are some of the conversations you need to listen. In fact, from them, Jocelyn was suggesting earlier that this shouldn't just be a conversation between the three of us. We should bring all the women in politics together in a room and hear some of the experiences. Some of it will make you cry. Some of it will make you cringe. Some of it will make you be like, ah, bah. Was it a sin to be this gender? But knows that also we have made wonderful strides in this sphere as well. And so we're talking about everything and anything. A big thank you to Epiglow for holding us down on The Dish. Another thank you to Decozone, Gino, Cowbell Coffee, and of course, Telecel. Betway is also holding us down right here on the show. Now let's get back into it. Before we went on the break, Jocelyn was talking about how some of the guys get disappointed. That Tana Muni's casa. Now that is on the side of relationships. Also, we have young girls getting into politics because, or it's been alleged that some of these young girls get into politics because they've seen some of you MPs driving the V8, look like you're living their life. Is it the truth? And now for you, Gabriela, do you think it's just some sort of a stereotype that has been painted on women just so that, you know, they're pushed aside when it comes to joining the political race?
And it depends on what you want.
Okay.
I think it's a subjective area because she has a V8. I don't have a V8. And I'm somebody who likes small cars. Okay. And sometimes I even prefer to jump in an Uber than be driven anywhere else. Yeah. Right? Because I get into conversations with the drivers, and that's how I get to know, because of what I do as a communicator. Yeah. I have to speak about people's issues. Yes. And how am I going to get to know about people's issues? Unless you go down there. Unless I go and talk to them. Yes. Right? So for someone like me, that is not the flashy life that I expose myself to. I'm a very mundane kind of personality, very ordinary.
Cool. Not ordinary.
Very, really cool. Very ordinary. But that world exists in politics because everybody is in politics for different reasons. I'm sure you can get from our conversation so far that we are more interested in contributing to where the country ought to be than in amassing for ourselves. But that is not to say that you not come into exposure where you could if you want to. Right. And there are people who take advantage of those opportunities. Right. From where how she's talking, I can deduce that she's somebody who, even when she gets it, she shares with her people. I'm somebody, when I get it, I share with my people. I don't hold it. Yeah. It's the principle that I live with. Yeah. So, but there are some people who are able to hold it and gather a lot, and so they're able to live a very flashy lifestyle, right? And that will attract people who want to experience that. And so even these days, you have a lot of young people who think that choosing politics straight after school as a career is an option. Until you go for election and you are thrown out and you realize that you have no work experience. You have no work experience. Apart from sitting in parliament. And nobody else can employ you. So you have to find something to do to yourself. It's a risk you take, understanding the terrain you are and how you make the most out of it. If you want flashy, you'll find flashy. If you want pure gold, you'll find pure gold. And if you want diamonds, you'll find diamonds. Whatever you want to find, you'll find. It's up to you to choose what it is that you want and what you are here for. People are here to make money, get a name, and unfortunately, for me who has been here for so long, I have seen people from Rawlins's time till JM's time. And I've seen those who have risen and have been shut down, and I've seen those who have risen and sustained, and I've seen the one-day wonders, and the 2 weeks wonders, and the one-year wonders. I've seen a lot in this space since I've existed here. So I won't discourage anybody. If you think you are here for the flashy, your choice, go for it. If you think you are here because you think that we can do better for Ghana and our agenda, welcome on board. We grind together.
Right, right. Now, also, one would say that there aren't enough examples out here for a lot of young girls to be chasing after.
There's one here. What do you mean there's another example?
So I'm making this point that who are those people that encouraged you, apart from the drive to push certain agendas, like, you know, fix the country, make sure the country is where it ought to be, that, you know, we want to do better for this country, so that is why we're doing it. Women in politics that motivated you to want to do this thing and do it the right way. I'm going to take that from you.
You want my local role models, or you want international role models?
Please put both. You never know. But local ones first.
The local ones, in the background will be my older sister.
That is Hannah Tete.
Yeah, because as a family, we kind of have this our little caucus discussions once in a while, and the conversations are all driven towards pushing the movement forward, right?
Yeah.
So she's one of those ones who leads in that direction. Wow. But for me, a lot of my role models are strong women who are global. And one of them is former Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir. Oh. She was one hell of a strong woman.
Yes, she was.
She was fighting 2 wars at the same time. And she was trying to get America on her side, and America was playing her like draft, and she was still standing in there until she died. You know, and she's one of those strong. A lot of the stories about women in leadership around Israel are in the Bible. But to see a physical woman, right? This, and I'm Christian, so that's why I kind of lean towards those kind of leadership. But to see one in person in Golda Meir, and the tough situation she found herself in, the kind of this resilient leader that she was. Another person for me would be Angela Merkel. This was a very educated woman, professor in chemistry. Okay. And how she was able to mobilize and rebuild, help to build Germany into the strong pillar that Germany is in Europe. And if you follow European politics, you know, I'm half European. Yeah. So we do 90% Ghana politics, then we observe 10% what's going on the rest of the world. And how she was able to position Germany at the center of European commerce, first of all, industry, and project that country as it is. I'm part Hungarian, but if you ask, no, let them not go there because they may, next time I want to go and take passport, they'll say, I didn't speak well of them. So, and then my third is Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, Margaret Thatcher.
Yes.
One that has been used against women.
But if you look at her contribution, especially in the area of social housing in the UK, she did her part. She did her part. And she succeeded because, like what she was saying earlier, the partner you have, and it's the same with Angela Merkel, the partner you have determines how far you are going to go as a woman. So you can choose to be Golda Meir, who are single, or you can choose to be a Thatcher or a Merkel, but a certain quality of a man must accompany you on that journey. For me, these three. There are other female leaders. What's the name? There's this one from New Zealand during the COVID crisis. She was a very empathetic leader. I'm trying to remember her name. I've forgotten her name. I'm seeing her face, but the name is not coming. And then for me, I can't go with the Americans because American politics for me sometimes gets confusing. You know, so I don't look at the American politicians. My brain doesn't function in waves like that. It functions like that. So I like the ones
it's a bit murky when it comes to that space.
I can't understand. I can't understand the politics there.
Over there.
You see the women, everybody goes like, oh, Hillary can become their first female president. Then here she is as a contender to be a flag bearer. One meeting.
And everything is voted.
Just a meeting decides it. And then you have Kamala. Then, and everything is going well, and she has all the money back in here. Everybody's like, oh, then this and this and this and this and this. You go to the post and it's bazaar.
Yeah.
But somehow
same thing happened.
the British and the Germans is much more straightforward. You can see where things are
already
things
going.
are aligning.
Yeah.
So I like that kind of system more than this one.
This one, Joycelyn, who will be your mentor? The people that you saw that encouraged you to go into politics, considering the fact that you went very you at a very young age.
Some of us grew up in a very rural area. We hardly watched television. We didn't even have electricity growing up.
Yeah.
And I watched my mom growing up. Even though she was married, my dad was supportive in a way. My mom had this flair of, I have to get this done. It must be done. So even now, I always look up to her. When I have issues, I'm like, how will this woman deal with the situation? Anytime I go out and I am faced with difficult issues, I come back home and like, and by the time you finish listening to her, you realize that, look, you just studied book. This woman knows what life is. So when I decided to do politics, I told myself that I have to inspire younger people, people that found or find themselves in the situation that I grew up from. So I didn't really have the international people. I looked around me and asked myself that, okay, if this woman can succeed as a farmer, if this woman can succeed as a teacher, if my mother can succeed as a trader, then I can succeed in whatever I put my mind to. Yes.
Wow.
So in my constituency, you'll find Joycelyn doing a girls program, like girls are going to school. I'm sharing sanitary pads to over 800 students. I'm buying them mattresses. I'm doing this and all that because I want them not to cast their minds up too high. Look at me. I am here. If I can do it, then you can equally do it. So that has influenced my decision of, yes.
Now, what you do, whether you like it, believe it or not, you are having a certain level of influence on younger people. This morning we had some young girls from a certain school over here, and I heard them talking governance. And I'm like, hey, God, I wish the children would just wait and meet these people they watch on television. Because you could see that they were well invested in the governance of this country and what would this government could do. And these are very young girls. I was actually fascinated listening. So I was just sitting in the corner listening to them. You influence a lot of young people. But with what we do, there are going to be times where you are going to err, you're going to make mistakes. How are we making sure that we as politicians in government, out of government, in opposition, wherever we find ourselves as women, are influencing or are intentional about the kind of message we put out there as women in politics?
Let me make a comment on this. I spoke with one of my friends recently. She is a former member of parliament. And then we were talking. And she's like, Joycelyn, there are times that I feel like I could just cry out there for people to know what I'm going through. But when I look at the number of people looking up to me, the moment I break down in public, they'll be disappointed. They'll be like, this is the person I'm looking at. If she's not able to take it, then please let me pack my things and leave. So making sure that you are the role model the girls are looking up to. Sometimes you just have to, like, even though you feel like crying, hold it back. To let them know that, no, don't get disappointed. Don't break down. Like, keep fighting, keep forcing. So to be a role model is a whole, like,
that's difficult.
Very difficult. Because there are times that you feel like, my daughter at home, anytime we want to do, let's say, a lab test or something, I am forced to take the needle first. Even though I fear needles. Like, I'm forced to say that, look, I'm a strong woman. I can take it without crying. I did that constantly, like 3 different occasions. And last week, she was supposed to take a lab test, and she was like, I'm a strong woman. I can take, and she never shed a tear. That thing, I felt like, look, it's a thing we must all do. Like, to let the people know that even though it's difficult, if somebody's been able to stand up to it, then you can all do it. So those of us up there, it's not just about we are being strong. Sometimes we act it so that you can learn from us. And then when we go back to our rooms,
You can cry.
and then clean it up when we are coming out.
Right.
So we are humans. We make mistakes. And recently, one of our young ladies in Parliament stood up to contribute to, and then make few grammatical errors and all that. I didn't see just men making fun of her.
Yeah, women too.
Women were equally doing that. So sometimes it's even difficult preaching the affirmative action thing that we are talking about.
Yeah, because we're really not about it.
We are really not about it. You see women looking down on other women. You see women who are supposed to be saying that, oh, she's a fellow woman, let's work towards it, let's get this done. They are like, no, she cannot do it. So it's a very difficult task that the media must really come into to help, because you have a broader space, you have a bigger space. So when we look at women from the perspective that this is her strength, let's hammer on it down. How is she dressed? How does she look? What's she wearing? What bag is she holding? If we don't stop that, we'll be marking time and thinking we'll get somewhere one day. We won't get anywhere if we don't support each other.
I am one that would always say that even if we want to put women in politics, they must merit it. But do you think we have made any progress at all so far? Ever since we've been preaching, let women be there. Now we have how many women? 30 or 31 women
31
in Parliament. One would say, okay, well, it's better than before.
Yeah.
But do you think that we've made any significant strides that we need to keep pushing us, like, just to encourage us that, yeah, we're getting somewhere. We've done something right so far?
But you see, we need to stop using Parliament as a benchmark.
Exactly.
Oh, true.
Because over the years, we go for elections every 4 years.
Yeah.
So within a period of 2 decades, we just have 5 cycles.
Yes.
We can't make progress in 5 cycles. If we really want to champion the cause of women. It has to be something that is done day in, day out, year in, year out.
So when we
That's
say women in Parliament, right, we're saying their work here in our society is only, reflects in Parliament, because then they are retained back in Parliament.
And understand, but the reason why I'm specifying that we shouldn't use Parliament as a benchmark, because Parliament is just one microcosm. You see, we still have the executive to deal with. We still have the judiciary to deal with.
Yes.
We still have the everyday corporate governance issues to deal with.
Yes.
And women bring not just empathy to leadership. They bring collaboration.
Yeah.
They bring lots of wisdom. I'm yet to meet a woman who has gone through the ranks and the mill to get to the top, who you can't sit under her feet and learn anything from. Society is structured such that that kind of woman will not get to the top. She'll be drained down before she gets there. But when you go into corporate, a lot of the bankers, women in banking today, in leadership, EcoBank is headed by a female. I think Sanchat has a female. At some point, UBA had a female. Access had a female. In banking, in insurance, in manufacturing, we still have women in manufacturing who are doing well.
Yeah.
The lady who runs FC Perfumery, the brand FC, she manufactures cosmetics also, and she's also doing well. If you go into even the global brands, they also have women leading them. We have to build this consistency where if we keep our eyes solely on Parliament, we'll be discouraged.
But that's where we want, because all these areas that you've touched on, right? They don't have anybody watching their back, really.
You have to make that happen, because
but the women in politics are representing the Ghanaian people, and that is why this conversation became important.
Those women are equally representing the Ghanaian the Ghanaian girls.
But you know that also they don't directly owe us anything, really. If they feel that what they do is fine, they are allowed to feel and come back again, or go and get married to some sheikh and move on.
Made a lot of progress.
But when it comes to women in politics, they are taking on a certain mantle, like, I am your Jesus to save you from a certain bloodline trajectory of stress that you have been in for years, right? And so once you put that there, your success is being marked.
If we go on that time, we've not made progress.
We haven't?
No.
So I want you to say
31% is not progress.
It's still not good enough.
But I like to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
Because I think that even the people who end up in Parliament, many of them come from this environment that put themselves up eventually into politics and find themselves into parliament.
Yes.
Or even, let's just say, even politics generally, because I'm not a parliamentarian.
Yes.
I'm a party officer.
Yes.
And within the party structure, we have so many departments that are run by just females.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
If you come to communication at the regional level, it is there where we have very, very few women, because I'm the only female communication officer.
Wow.
For NDC in the entire Ghana.
Wow.
16 regions.
Wow.
And congratulations. Positions. So maybe if we could get more, there's a deputy communication officer from one of the northern areas.
Who's female?
Who's female. Yeah. So it's just two of us at the regional level. And then at the constituency levels, I have one communication officer at the constituency and I have 3 deputies out of 46. So it's still not a good number.
It's still not a good number. There's still more work to be done. And I think one of the things is also the fact that before now, we haven't had people intentionally train women to be in those positions. So how can we create a more inclusive political environment that supports women in leadership roles? So now I'm opening it up a little bit, but not too open. Let's focus a bit more on the politics, but on leadership roles.
For one, I think a party bets a government, right? And the party bets are members of parliament.
Exactly.
So the focus lies on the party, first of all, to have a pragmatic program that says that, you know something, this next election, 2028, today we only have about, out of the 31, let's even say, how many are NDC?
We are 20-something.
20-something.
That's a good...
Let's say the party decides, okay, let us try and be more forthcoming with our support for the women, aside having departments that are run by women. Let's just say that, for once, we want to increase our numbers in parliament to 40%, right? And then aside just giving women discounts when they pick nomination forms and say, oh, we've created opportunity, the form is 25,000, we've given it to them at 20,000, and this and that. Let us manipulate a system because we want a certain outcome. And if we're able to get that outcome in parliament, we can then execute that outcome in the executive. Okay. Today, we are telling ourselves that out of the appointees in a Jubilee House currently, 50% are women. To be very honest, apart from some 3 or 4 people, I don't really see the presence of the rest of them. Yeah. I don't hear them. I don't see them. I don't know what they do. But they say they are there. And so how would anybody see that they are contributing something?
There's still work to be done. Unfortunately, this conversation, I think we have to do a part 2 because our time is fast spent. But unfortunately, do you see how a good conversation, because I've never had to do with this before, but just briefly touch on that bit so that we can wrap
So like she said, we have to be very intentional about it, making efforts that we don't pick men over women. In parliament now, in our party, president is making that effort to make sure we get to the level we want to. Speaker of Parliament is a he for she. He made sure we passed the Affirmative Action Act, which I would say that the mindset of the people is stronger than just making laws. So if the people are not psyched that we have to accept women, the laws are just
there to...
Recently, I saw my constituency executive platform that, we have a female member of parliament. We don't need a female DCE. So it's like... But if you have a male member of parliament, they don't mind having a male DCE. So if we don't take the education down there to make it, to make an effort, to make sure that women are human beings too. So if you are like...
if they merit it, why not?
Why not? Yes. We are talking about competence. We are talking about somebody's readiness to get the work done. So I think we should be intentional about it. We are making efforts though. So let's keep...
Oh my goodness. Well, and to all my viewers, you know that we usually don't do this. So which means that this conversation is so big. One show cannot exhaust the entire, the holistic view of this conversation. Women in politics is a big conversation. We're coming up with part 2, and in the part 2, you'll be blown away. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. Out of your busy schedules, you were able to make time for this show, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that you came through. Now, to all of you, and of course, we must say that, listen, these women women are working so hard. With all of these things they are faced with, they still show up and show off. And we're grateful for you. Keep doing it, because somehow they said we have to merit the position, so we have to work twice as hard. But if that's what it would take to be able to be represented and do the good work, why not? Okay, I'm sure my ladies are ready for it. I thank you so much, Gabriela Tete and Honorable Joycelyn Tete, for joining me.
Joycelyn question.
Hey, wow. When we started, she didn't say question.
Yes, I waited for you
to do what I have to do.
You have to do.
we have to now go and find out who Mr. Kwashi is.
Hey, Mr. Kwashi is here.
Oh, I see.
He came with me.
Wow. Now to you out there, thank you so much for always being a part of the show. Epiglow, thank you for holding me down every single time. Gino, Telecel, Betway, and Cowbell. Again, to my beautiful family at DecoZone, thank you for always making my set very beautiful. If you want that house to be a home, DecoZone is a place to grab all those pieces to make it a very conducive atmosphere for you and your family. My name is Miriam Udwak Mensah. We see you again next week. Have a beautiful evening.